wonder.
Sorry.
I was singing.
And I'm singing.
Right. And you're taking a shower. Wait, I'm blending scenes.
Yeah.
What was it?
And you're my dad.
That's
And
right.
I love you. I really, really love you. Oh.
So good at being awkward.
Yeah. Hey.
You and him. You're so much alike. Alright, let's get this potty started.
Not
Patty.
potty.
Let's get this potty started. Have you seen my new khakis?
You know, cockies.
I'm wearing them right now. Not my khakis. My khakis.
I'm looking for my cockies, actually. Can't find them anywhere.
They're on your legs, bro.
Yeah, my cockies. You need to drive away with my cock.
Irregardless, they're right there. Alright, let's
You
do this.
schmuck.
Actually, you know what? Reset. Let's do our little tizzity test. Make sure that we got everything set up.
To
I'm
protect yourself.
Singing, and you're my dad.
And I love you. I really, really love you.
I don't want to hear that back. That's
I guess
terrible.
the audio works.
The audio's working just fine.
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
All right, let's get
Sit
it
up
set.
straight, Nate. You're a sloucher.
There we go.
Okay, Dad.
Ready, go. Hey everyone, welcome to the Shrink Think Podcast. We are, as always, every single time, without fail, thrilled to be here with you.
Yes.
And I know there's gonna come a day when I say, "Hey everyone, it's the Shrink Think Podcast. We're just here," and you're gonna be like, "Oh no, you're not excited," and your whole day is gonna be ruined. And then I'll be like, "Just kidding, we're excited," and then you'll have the best day ever, because that's what we do here on the Shrink Think Podcast: improving your life one episode at a time, and one swag shop item at a time.
Boom! Go to shrinkthink.com/swag.
Check out all of our cool stuff. If you're driving, don't do that though.
Unless you're in stop and go traffic.
Then discreetly do it.
No, I never said
Hands
that.
free. Yeah, please don't. Today we've got a cool episode. We were talking about this before we started recording, and it's kind of a blend of some of the stuff that we've done in the past, but in looking over it, I believe this was like episode 32, like 32. We're almost close to 200 right
Did you
now.
just pull that out of your hind end?
I have them all. Before I go to sleep at night, I lay in bed memorizing episode numbers.
Good lord. If you guys go back there and he's right. Anyways.
Buy a swag shop item
Right.
in my honor. So we're going to talk about, the episode was called Reasons, Excuses, Intent, and Impact. And it's kind of some of that, and it's also some of the stuff we've talked about in terms of shame, or we had a recent episode on the victim mindset. And so it's a blend of those, and it's I think a little bit more of a behind the scenes or under the hood look at what's going on if you're in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a partnership, a friendship, family member, a coworker, and you express something like a feeling like, "Oh, I'm hurt," or "I'm upset about this thing that you did," and the other person essentially goes into denial about whatever that thing is, and they start defending themselves and saying, "Well, I didn't mean to do that," or "I didn't say that, I said something else," and you're like, "Well, yeah, when you said that, like, it came across this way, right?" And they're like, "No, that couldn't be," or whatever. And you just go round and round, or you just dig yourself deeper into a hole. Essentially, the conversation goes nowhere, right? And the problem of what's happening that we're going to talk about in this episode is there's an impact of your words and your actions on the other person, but your intent is nothing like what that impact is. And you cannot fathom a world in which you've done the impactful thing that the other person is telling you. It's like I'm sitting across from Nathan as we record this, so if you're watching, you can see what's happening. And it'd be like I'm describing a tall, long-haired, bearded woman. He's like, "Wait, that's not me at all." It's like, no, but I'm looking at you right now, and he's like, yeah, but I don't have a beard.
When you turned, your hair hit me in the face. Yeah, that's right. How's that even possible? I don't have hair. So you're saying it felt like... Yeah.
So that's like a great example of the situation where something's happened and you just cannot fathom that this thing is the case. And so, like, what do you do about what's going on, and how do you resolve that?
I think there's another... This that kind of blends with what Aaron was just saying. Because in that situation that you're presenting, that example, there's like a conversation happening. Somebody's trying to share something. But there can also be a time when, in your mind, you're not really sharing much at all. You say something, the person's like now mad. They're like, I can't believe you said that. And you're like, what? Said what?
I just took a drink of my coffee.
Right.
I just turned my head and flipped my hair. What are you talking about?
No, you didn't flick your hair. Anyway, so alongside of this too, it's also kind of a blend. I was realizing as Aaron was mentioning that when we talked about validation, the hardest thing about doing validation is getting over the entire thing we're talking about today. Like all of the stuff that we're talking about today will blend into the validation episode that we already did. So it's kind of weird, like it's all this overlap, like little circles overlapping with shades of color. Picture it, people.
Like the worst Venn diagram you could ever imagine. Lots of circles.
In the middle is black. It's a black hole of hatred and discontent.
And validation.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So maybe we'll call this Get Over Yourself. Because I think in a lot of ways that's kind of what the point of this is. And of course, you know, we would never say that to somebody to their face, but we would say it on this podcast episode. We won't say it to your face, but listen to the Shrink Think podcast and you'll hear all about it. Get over yourself, because essentially, let's kind of start breaking this down, okay? If I'll be the one who's said or done the thing that's offensive or that was hurtful, that had an impact on you, Nathan, and so you can speak for the person that is seeing it and receiving it on the other side, and I cannot see your perspective. And from my perspective, I would never do such a thing. You know, I said B, and you heard C, and when you say C, I'm like, wait, that's no, not at all. I said this, and let me clarify, I meant A. So it's A and B are kind of close, kind of similar, right? You can kind of see the connection there. But C, whoa, that's like a whole letter away. No, there's no way I said anything like that. Because I know internally my intent was A, my intent was not C, so therefore that could not have happened.
Right, and there's a middle ground that doesn't even work in these scenarios, because until you're able to kind of maybe, well, like we're talking about, get over yourself and looking at it from your own perspective and share what you believe about yourself, because that's typically what will happen. You'll want to share about like, you know, like I didn't mean that, or I didn't say that, or no, it's not I didn't say that, it's more I would not say that, you know, in your mind. And so you're looking for ways that you could have said something that might sound like what the person's saying, and if you really are saying how they felt, and if you really can't get there, if you in your mind like you're like thinking I don't even have words that would get me to where you're being impacted. Like, I don't even know the words I would use to get you to be impacted the way you're experiencing that. So therefore, you did not experience that. Your experience is invalid.
Right. And so if you're the one who experienced the negative impact, then I would be saying, no, that's not at all what my intent was or what my intentions were. So the impact that you think you experienced, you crazy, bro. You did not. Maybe you had too much of that mushroom coffee, bro.
Yeah. Well, and then this is when we get into. There's so many episodes blending. This is when when people will say something to you like, "You're gaslighting me." Mm-hmm. You're gaslighting, and the truth is, in that scenario, that's not happening. Like, it's about core beliefs. It's not about like somebody trying to make you crazy.
Yeah, and it also could be a bit about communication skill, because I've heard this from people a lot. They'll come into my office, and I've even heard this a bit in some of my personal conversations with people. So people in general will do this. We will say something like, we believe that we're sharing about how we felt. I told the person how I felt, And, when you hear that, you're thinking, oh, so you said, I felt sad and I felt hurt and I felt disappointed. Is that what you said, right? No, that's not at all what happened. The actual communication that they use, that we will use oftentimes, is you did this and then you did the other thing, and then when you did the other thing, you shouldn't have done that. Wait a minute, where are the feelings in there? There were no feelings. But see, that's the communication problem I think that a lot of people get into. So in a certain sense, it's kind of like when they're saying, you did this, you did that, you shouldn't have done this, whatever that kind of attacking language they're using, whenever that was said, in their minds, they're hearing themselves say, I feel hurt, I feel sad, I feel disappointed. I just laid it out for you to be compassionate toward me. And the other person's offended. You're like, what? You're offended by my feelings? And they're like, what feelings? I'm like, I just bared my soul for you, Nathan. How dare you? It's like, part of that problem could be, no, you didn't actually communicate your feelings. What you said was something that to you thought, or what that meant, where your feelings were inside of all that, but the other person received the rock between their eyes and at their face. There were no feelings, no soft feelings in that rock. It was just, ow.
Right. Yeah, and some of the language in our day and age promotes it. I mean, there's a lot of people, and I do this. There's a lot of people. I mean, I feel, well, if I do it, obviously everybody does.
That's true.
When you say I feel like blah blah blah. Well, the truth is that's not a feeling.
Ever. It's never a feeling.
It's about your experience.
You're never saying, I feel like sadness. I feel like disappointment.
Really? You feel like disappointment? Describe that more. Yeah.
No, it's like you're saying, I feel like you don't love me anymore. That's a belief or an opinion or a thought. Right. So if we can remove that, and I try to catch myself on that all the time. I'll try to remove that from my vocabulary. I'm like, if I say I feel like, I will catch myself and say, no, I believe blank, or I think blank, because I'm actually trying to tell you a thought. So let's keep moving on from this. But one of the things that happens that kind of looks like gaslighting kind of stuff, or can create some of the confusion, is I think that I'm saying something that I'm actually not. But again, still, get over yourself, right? We got to throw that on a t-shirt or a hat or something because we've done this episode. You got to get over yourself, meaning I have to be able to think about myself beyond or in a different way than I might like to think about myself. Is it possible, Aaron, that you said something that you didn't really mean and it came across in a way that you would not actually approve of if you heard it back? Is it possible that you might actually need to communicate differently? Or is it possible that you said something that hurt the other person, even if you didn't mean to, it still did, and you still need to be responsible for that?
Yeah. So a helpful hint on how to do this. If you can keep in mind that what's really happening, the disparity, the difference, the confusion that you're having around this whole intent and impact is beliefs. And so why I say that is the other person across from you that's saying what they're saying, which is different than what you think, you can make a safe assumption that they have a different belief system than you about inside of their core. So what you're really trying to do is understand what it is that happened, what their experience was, and then you can actually help them unpack and also get validation on your side for what's going on. It also might help you to calm down a little bit and to go ahead and try to hear what they were hearing, because it's going to be, if we've talked about this in Core Beliefs, another blended episode, if you believe something about yourself, whatever it is that you're, let's put it in the positive, that you're a good person and you are not mean. It's one of your core beliefs to not be mean. And that you say whatever you say, and they go, oh my gosh, I wouldn't believe that you're that mean. And in your mind, you're like, well, I'm not, so congratulations, don't believe it.
Right.
And then they say, well, when you did this, you were obviously mean, and you're just sitting there going, no, I didn't. You can't hear it. So what you would do...
So let me just say this. If you're watching on video, I've got these things from my desk that are kind of like balls of rubber bands kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of like the lens through which you see things, right? When you have these core beliefs, the lens through which you hear things and see things is going to be tainted by or colored by, defined by this core belief that you have. So whatever happens, whatever the other person is saying is then filtered through. You might not actually be hearing what they are saying. You're hearing what you think they're saying through the lens and the definition of that core belief.
Right. And so when you actually give space for it, you give some space, you're going to have to also deal with the fact, and this is the one that's harder, that I can't give you the you just get to stay with it, because they're going to tell you things that you are certain that you actually words that you are certain that you did not say. Even in your recall, you'll be like, I did not say that word.
And you want to not answer. Don't say that, right? Hold space for the possibility that, okay, I didn't say that, but I'm hearing you out.
Right, because what you want to do is you want to understand the experience. Because after you understand the experience and the person feels like you actually get the experience, there's going to be a natural move for them to be, they're going to be open to curiosity. They're going to want to know what you think about all that. Because it sounds like you really get it. So tell me what you think. And that's your opportunity to say, well, to be honest with you, what I remember happening is this, and I said X, Y, Z. This is which goes along with kind of how I believe it. And so it sounds like how you took it was this.
So if we break this down and kind of put this back in the context of our ABC thing, because it can get a little confusing, right? Because I've got my core beliefs that I'm holding as A. What I actually said was B. And then your core beliefs and what you heard was C. So initially, if I'm saying like, we had this conversation in A, and you are like, no.
C.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no way. There's no C at all. It's A, right? You just go back and forth like C, A, C, A, C, A. Like this is getting nowhere. So what we're actually saying is like, okay, I hear you. You're saying that I said C. So I remember saying B, and when I said that, you heard C. Tell me more about that. Right? And I'm understanding your experience, C, and maybe even understanding a bit of who you are, or some of your core belief, or why you might have heard it that way. Maybe even it's colored by some past experiences that you've had with me, or some things that I have said before that led you to believe this C thing about whatever just happened.
Well, that's a good point, because when you have a longer term relationship, especially, you will develop beliefs about that person in the relationship that are yours. They may not accurately, they may like 90% represent them, but they'll say something that won't fit your vantage.
Wait, what? C? What are you talking about?
And you'll be like, okay, that's not you will be offended by it for two reasons. One, you might not like what they said, but two, you're kind of being asked to reevaluate everything that you believe. And that hurts your brain. That's like, because there's a kind of an automatic refusal, because it creates distrust of yourself, which is actually some of the main things that are going on with this whole deal is what you're doing, when we're saying get over yourself. It's like saying, be open to not trusting your own self.
Yeah.
Be open to not trusting and that's a big deal. I think to illustrate it in a totally different way, one of the things that when you have most people that are in our audience, I would say the vast majority do not have this disease, but schizophrenia. If you are hallucinating, what people don't understand about hallucinations is they are completely believable a lot of the time. Like, it's not kind of something, it's like you are literally seeing that thing. And one of the things in schizophrenia, and when you're working with it, is this person has to get to the place where they're literally not trusting their own vision. Imagine that, like if somebody came up to you right now and said, you're not seeing that car in front of you, there is no car.
Or hearing that voice.
Yeah, you don't hear, there is nothing. I mean, it's hard. So that's an extreme example, but we're kind of talking about the same thing right now, where you're having to entertain that you said something like that, or were heard in a way that is not possible to you. It's not in your mind.
And a couple things can happen just as we turn the corner for home here. A couple things can happen for if you're the person that said something that had an impact on the other person. as you listen to the other person, as I'm listening to you talk, sometimes what will happen is you'll hear, oh, so in the past you've heard me say these couple of things which led you to believe this. Wow, that's not what I meant at all by those other statements. And then you'll be like, what did you mean? And I'll explain, and you'll be like, oh, well, that makes so much more sense. It's kind of like you followed the breadcrumb trail of whatever I had said before, and it went right when it was actually supposed to go left, right? And it was just a mix-up and a misunderstanding. So sometimes that'll happen. The impact is still valid, right? You still experienced what you experienced. You just thought that it went that direction. And so I still have to get over myself and realize, oh, I can see how that same breadcrumb trail of things I said could actually lead a different direction than the one I intended. Or it could also be, that's kind of like the nice version. The harder version, getting over yourself, might be, I said some things and I wasn't even aware that it could be offensive because I wasn't even thinking about you and how it might impact you.
Right.
I was just thinking about my own thing, and it did, and that was kind of insensitive, right? So that's true. You're right. I can see how that would be insensitive, and I feel terrible about that.
Right. And ultimately, what we're counting on here, like the reason why you're people that listen to the show, because you're good, nice human beings, you're good little campers. Get your camper shirt on the Swag Shop. Is that you care about this other person. You want to try to somehow get to the bottom of it, and that's the motivator, right? So it's remembering that. It's remembering, number one, that you care. Number two, that means that you have to agree that their experience is valid, even if you don't understand it. And three, remember, they've got the core belief difference. Like, so you can kind of like sit there and hold it and go, okay, look, they probably believe something different about themselves than maybe I thought or they know. And so let's be patient, find out how they're organizing it.
Yeah, and keep in mind that you also have a core belief, right? You have beliefs that you're interpreting things through, and so do they. You both are doing the same thing. It's just a matter of putting it all on the table and trying to see one another's perspective.
Go out there and validate people.
Get over yourself.
Be responsible for your impact. Get over yourself again. And have a great day.
Little creepy.
I like whispering.
I was like, I had to throw that in. Have a great day. Like, I can't have a great day now. I feel like I'm going to be murdered in my sleep somehow.
Somebody said that behind me. Is he in here? I have core belief that somebody's going to kill me. Is it happening now?
Yeah, have a great day.
Oh, no.
That's like what I heard you say.
Oh my word. You added on so much. That last part moves it from creepy to I'm going to die.
That's so funny. We're talking about intended impact. Remember, that's what I heard.
I know. Yeah.
You were just like, have a great day. And I was like, that's creepy.
Oh man, get the fava beans out.
Dana Fava? What?
Mm.